Greetings everyone and welcome to another Defcamp and Melderon TV podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, remember you can listen to a Defcamp Melderon TV podcast on your favorite podcast provider, including Google Play, Stitcher, iTunes, and SoundCloud. And if you're listening on one of those services, don't forget to check us out on YouTube at Defcamp Melderon TV. Also, you can follow us on Twitter at DEF_Mel, M-E-L-T-V. Thank you so much, and keep on keybinding and grinding. Hello everyone, welcome back to another Defcamp Melderon TV video/podcast. So today we're going to be talking about a couple different topics, including updates that have happened recently in World of Warcraft Classic, as well as guild health, server health, and just how things have been going for guilds like my own and other higher performing guilds, and just kind of get a pulse of what's been going on. So I have with me today Ayle from Onslaught on Scarum, which is a NA East Coast server. And then I have with us Bel, who is a warrior as well. Ayle's a warrior too. And he is in Cottonmouth in Earth Fury, on the Earth Fury server. How you guys doing?
Doing great, yeah. We're now called Lowercase.
Oh, you changed your name to Lowercase.
Yeah, we're a new guild now.
I like that. Is it all uppercase, though, the text?
It is.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's...
How clever.
Yeah, we were in Alterac Valley the other day, and somebody from Caps Lock said, our long-forgotten brothers.
Ayle, how you doing, man?
I'm good.
Good.
I like this party. 2 warriors and a shaman.
Yeah. This is Wind Fury, just as long as I drop Wind Fury, right?
Yeah. Well, as long as you have Wind Fury.
What about Grace of Air? I gotta twist that in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta do it.
Definitely accounting for that buff.
All right, so let's start with the news and updates. So recently we had some changes to the aura limit, which has been a huge headache for warriors for a long time. Can someone kind of briefly talk about that and what's been changed?
So actually the aura limit's the same. What's changed was what counts towards the aura limit. So I'm not sure of all the items. I know the Librams and the Arcanums that go to the head, and the legs from ZG, and the old ones from like Libram of Rapidity and Veracity, those don't count. And I know for sure that Elemental Sharpening Stones count. Do you know of any other things that don't count?
Yeah, I don't. And like that was a little bit frustrating when they announced the change, is that they didn't really give us a list of what changed. And I know they like to keep some things in the dark for us to discover, like what items are released when and things like that. But it's really difficult to know without having like a PTR or some way to test to know actually what's been changed.
So yeah. How does this affect your DPS and your planning or tanking as well, I guess? How does this change things for you guys as warriors?
It made it super interesting for me, right? Like now I have to make some decisions. I have to say, do I want 16 strength, which is like 32 attack power, and do I want to spend the 400 gold on that because each Libram is now 200 gold? The prices of the market changed, or do I go for rapidity and get haste on my helmet and legs, right? Or the ZG buff, right? It's 10 stamina, 7 defense, and block value, which is kind of useless for Fury Prot. So there was definitely some debates. Fight Club has definitely gone back and forth on what's this. Everybody seems to be going for Agi or Strength right now because it's very consistent. We know the value of that, whereas Haste kind of up in the air. There's like different schools that calculate the value of Haste. But also our number of consumables that we can take have gone down also because of that. We have like Sands of Potions that we can now put on. Because the Elemental Sharpening Stones don't count. I know a lot of tanks specifically were putting their offhand 15 strength or 15 agi as opposed to a second Crusader because it was so tight. Definitely, as I transition from a DPS to a tank, all my consumes and the number of buffs available to me go all out of whack. Like it's crazy. I don't have space for like Jujus, for example.
And so as a tank, you're not even using the ZG enchant still. You're still going with the Librams.
I am personally, just because I'm more worried about threat, right? I want more TPS. On top of that, I don't think that the warrior enchant's that great. Personally, I'd rather have our hunters and our healers and our mages get theirs, because their enchants are baller. They have spell power with hit and range attack power with hit, which are amazing. As opposed to warriors, they just get stamina. Some people have argued, say, just take the stamina and the 7 defense. which raises your the defense. While you're never going to hit the cap, it does help you with your dodge and your parry chance.
Yeah, fractional benefits. Yeah.
Yeah, but most warriors say, well, you could do that and just put more TPS stuff like 9 strength on your bracers instead of 9 stamina, right? Or wear more TPS heavy gear because you have the stamina made up there. I don't know if 200 health is that big of a deal. I'd rather have 2% haste or having that 16 strength for 32 attack power.
Now, overall, though, these changes have increased TPS and DPS, correct?
Yes. I know some rogues even were hitting the buff cap. Like when they vanish, for example, it's like 3 buffs that happen because they get invisibility, a hidden debuff, and the vanish one or something like that. I'm not too keen on rogue buffs, but I know when they vanish, it's 3 new buffs, and some people were getting their DMs pushed off and stuff like that. So even rogues are definitely benefiting from this.
Interesting. So, and then the other change was before this, I guess this hot fix, you were able to use other classes enchants. So let's use mage for an example. So the mage ZG enchant gives like a +1 to hit, which is really, really good, obviously. And you were able to, via batching, like you were saying, Bel, before the call, you were able to essentially start the enchant and then trade while the enchant was going off, and it would give the mage enchant, let's say a warlock who was hit starved or something. So that was fixed as well. And you were saying it was also the Argent Dawn you were able to do it with the Argent Dawn enchants as well, right?
Yeah, that was a known bug / feature that we could. Well, now it's a bug, I guess, officially, since they took it out of the game. But you could before put enchants on other people, even though it was soulbound to you. Enchants that normally would soulbind a BOE item, and turn it into a soulbound item, for example. So like Bloodvine, which is crafted in BOE, would become soulbound when you enchanted it, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Or epics in a raid. So if you were in a raid with me, Ayle, and Helm of Endless Rage dropped, and you were a rogue and I was a warrior, I could give it to you. You could put on, if you had your Libram in your bag during the raid, during that window, you could put on there the 28, I think it was attack power that rogues get, and trade it into me. As long as you started the cast with it in your bag, had a trade open, put it into my trade window, accepted the trade while it's still casting, and the item got into my bag by the time you finished casting, my item would be in my possession, soulbound to me with the enchant.
Yeah, I think this was in the end a really good change for them to make, even though.
Wait, you want one free hit?
No, I don't really, because just the amount of effort and trouble you'd have to go through to get this, just thinking about it, everybody would be wanting 1 or 2 enchants. It would fundamentally break the game where there's only certain enchants that people want, and would have a huge crazy warping meta with people trying to get those.
Would you have gotten the rogue one, or would you have gotten the hunter one for the hit?
Probably the raw attack power rogue one, but that's the kind of thing where it's even though it did exist in classic, it wasn't well known, right?
So I don't know. Did it exist? Was batching still available?
So that's my question. Is this a change or is it not a change?
Well, for BOE items, I heard that you were able to do it in Classic and still trade it.
You mean vanilla, right? When we say
vanilla.
Okay.
Yeah, original vanilla. At least that's what people in the forums and things have been saying. So I don't know how much it's actually related to batching. Maybe due to the lag before it worked too. I'm not really too sure. I at least hadn't heard of it until Classic. So.
Yeah, I definitely thought it was new with batching. But either way, it's gone now. There goes those ideas. I think people who had it were stuck for a little while with that extra buff, not counting. You wouldn't get the stats, but the enchant slot would count against your buff cap. So you would get the negative effect of having a Libram attached, but you wouldn't get any of the benefits. And then eventually when they got rid of Libram's counting as an enchant, ironically, I think that's how they figured it out. They were looking at those things when they figured out, wait, Librams count? Even though there's a blue post out there that exists that says they knew the Librams counted. So we've been getting conflicting information about what Blizzard actually knew and intended, and what's no changes versus fixes.
Yeah, and that's kind of interesting as well, that they would go back on something that they had outright said. It seems like they actually maybe didn't really know or didn't understand how important the Librams were, maybe. Because this, at least for me, this sucks. I ended up losing probably like 600 or 700 gold due to this because I had my 2 Librams from when I was running, instances. I saved them to use, but the buff slots were just too tight that I eventually decided like a couple months ago, I'm like, you know what? I'm never going to use these. I'm just going to get rid of them for a few hundred gold, right? Like, I didn't expect Blizzard to go back on what they had said, especially because they had mentioned them specifically that they were to count against the buff cap.
Yeah,
so now
confirmed it was Blizz-like, right? They said for sure this counts as a buff, and then now
it does, yeah. And then so now, I have to buy the Librams, so I'm out gold, and they've really spiked.
Yeah.
Cool. So I mean, it's good. That's a good transitional point. So we covered the updates. It's pretty much all there is. I mean, obviously ZG's out, but we talked about that last week, I believe, or that was before. That was after ZG came out last podcast we did. So ZG's been out for a while. People are running that. What are your guys' thoughts on it? To me, it's fun. It's definitely like a step down from BWL, and it's just an easy place to go in with your friends and kind of hang out. Are you guys enjoying it at all, or is it kind of already run its course for you guys?
To me, it's Ubers with the boys. You know how we used to play, like, do living strat for orb runs for fun? We get, like, 3 warriors, a rogue, and a shaman, and just go at it.
Sure.
It's a good Friday night. That's what ZG's turned into. And some people have this loot in there, right? The healer neck off of Jindo.
Yep. We had our first one drop, thank God.
Cocoa consumption really counts. It's really good for casters, I'll say that. For melee ult, it's really nice. I've taken my hunter, gotten some good loot.
Nice. Yeah, what do you think? You guys even running ZG?
Oh yeah, of course. I actually like ZG now more than I ever have. I always remember, like, in original vanilla and on private servers running it, that I don't know why, but it would always be a mess. You'd always have people's alts. Like, the barrier to entry is so low that pretty much anybody could go in, and it would seem like you'd have, like, 10 or 12 people who wanted to do it, and then you just fill with whatever's left over. Well, in the situation we're in with Onslaught, everybody is running it on their mains, so it's like easy breezy, beautiful. We just run through there and crush it. Yeah.
You just described my current experience with ZG. Like, there was, like, one really good run that we had where we killed, like, Arlok before she vanished, and we killed Hakar before the first Siphon Blood. But usually there's some ults in there, and there's people who just bought the Bijous because they're hella rich and they're mages, and they just don't need to go there for anything except idols, and even then they're going to GDKP runs and just paying 500 gold for an idol, right?
Wow.
And
yeah,
let's be done with it.
Yeah, for us it's been. I mean, we're going in for the idols. Obviously, the healers want the neck. There's a few pieces in there, but it's already starting to. Hey, can I bring my alt with me? And which is okay. I mean, the fact that we're blowing through it is fine. I don't really care, but I think it's going to turn into Ani pretty soon, because Ani and MC now for us are the alt. Hey, can I please bring my alt night?
Do you split your Anis, or do you do full 40-man Anis?
So on Mondays we do a 20-man Ani because we only do 1 ZG run on Mondays, and on Thursdays we do 2 ZGs, and we usually do a split, but some nights, depending on how people are feeling, we just do a full Ani.
We had to stop split Anis because nobody wanted to do it, and our warriors just literally have gone Kroll, Sharuk, Doom's Edge instead of waiting for a Deathbringer, just because the drop rate's so bad.
Yeah, for sure.
And so ZG has become at least it's not a split, but there's definitely ults, and we've seen, like, some really underperforming characters in there, and just, like, they're just soaking up loot, right? Because some of it's not that great for people who've been doing MC and BWL on their mains. But some of it's great. I personally love the warrior setup, right? Because I'm a Fury Prot tank, and that chess piece is like mini 2.5. It's just a preview of what's to come in AQ.
Sure.
So I've enjoyed it. And I don't know. I used to do it on a mage back in original vanilla, and I love ZG as a mage.
Yeah, it's definitely nice to be like, oh, I don't have every world buff tonight. We'll get to that in a second.
You say that, but Onslaught does. They run full world buffs in there, right, Ayle?
Nope. That's what's good about it too, is that buffs are optional, so it's really just a lot of us still buff anyways.
I was about to say, you're about to be a casual. The ones I've seen, everybody's fully buffed.
Yeah, usually people have picked up a few, and we go in there, and it makes it really smooth.
Yeah, and buffing's pretty easy on Scaram, right? There's no layers. We had layers for a while, and we were like, what do we do now? It's hard to coordinate and get invites, transfer layers. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, does that make it How does that make it more difficult for buffing? Do you have to keep track of each layer's heads and things like that?
Yeah, we had no way to know like the different layers. So eventually Nova buff timers or whatever, there's an add-on that does it. And basically you have to target an NPC in Orgrimmar and it will tell you what layer you were and what the timer was. And after server resets, it was really like unpredictable for a little while. But yeah, coordinating on a server, before there was like a classic World Buffs website that was really great. Everybody would just sign up there and have like upvotes and downvotes on the last timers, and you could sign up to drop something there. It was a great resource for us, and then layers screwed that all over. And so we had to go to the in-game add-on for it.
Yeah. So how are your guys' prospective guilds doing? I feel like the reason I bring this up is I feel like as more content comes out, I think more stress comes on to the guilds to get everything done. Do you guys, and on top of that, you know, I think I've never ran a 40-man ever in my life, you know. So the biggest guild I ever ran was 25. Obviously, it's a big difference, and I feel like it's a lot harder than I thought it would be. I mean, do you think are you guys having issues with burnout, issues with performance? Like, how is everything going on your ends for your guilds?
So I think that all three of our guilds are very different in what we do.
Yeah, maybe we should preface with that. So let's start with that. Yeah.
So how big is Addon now? I know you guys had Black Mamba, Sidewinder.
Yeah. So originally, this is kind of a long story. I'll make it as brief as possible. We all used to be in the same guild, all three people here in Invictus.
We had 5 raid IDs.
We had 5 raids, right? And we were all in Skyrim, obviously. And 2 guilds transferred off the server, Cottonmouth and Copperhead.
Which became 2 different guilds, lowercase where I am, and really makes you think where the other raid went.
And really makes you think it's on what server? Incendius?
We're both in Earth Fury now. We moved to Incendius.
Okay.
And then when Incendius free transfers opened up and there was a mass exodus, we were literally logging in 4 hours before raid to be in queue.
Right.
So we all moved over to Earth Fury, and that's where the 2 of us are now.
Right. And then King Snake, Black Mamba, and Sidewinder, with the raid I raid in, we formed a guild called Addon, and so Sidewinder, the raid I'm in, we decided we weren't really liking Skyrim very much. We had our eyes set on Grobulus. Well, like a day later, Blizz shut down all transfers to Grobulus, and we didn't allow character creation. So we were like, shit. We'd already mentioned to the other 2 guilds that were leaving, you know, so they left and made their own respective guilds, which is totally fine, and I hope they were doing absolutely well, and that's great. But it did make my life a little bit easier, to be honest. And
so you're only running 1 raid ID now.
Now it's just Sidewinder. So Sidewinder is Addon, essentially. Yeah. So we, you know, originally our guild started off as a casual raid marketed in a tier of raids in like sweatiness, right? Whereas Cottonmouth and Copperhead, I think, were originally like supposed to be like the top tier ones, correct? And correct if I'm wrong here, Bel.
Yeah, what I remember is when I joined Invictus, I was like level 43. My other pre-launch classic guild kind of broke up we didn't break up. I just left because of our group's dynamics, and what they wanted was a little bit less hardcore. And Invictus was like, we have a weekend dad gamer raid, right? That was supposed to be King Snake, and then Sidewinder was I guess the casual raid, and then there was 2 semi-hardcore raids, which were Cottonmouth and Copperhead. And Copperhead was built to do like world records. You had mandatory like alts and summoning alts, and that's like the type of people that were trying to do world first, right?
Right.
I'll correct me. And when they did that, they kind of pooled together a lot of the sweatiest players who were like took the first week off for Classics launch, and they just had too many people, I think, and Cottonmouth grew out of that, I believe. Right? They absorbed Plasma, which was originally the guild that Nephilim and Crix and all them were in.
Okay.
And Xena. And then when they came in, they had their own guild, but they didn't have a raid, and Cottonmouth didn't have space, I think. Don't misquote me on that. That could be wrong. But from what I remember, they built out their own semi-hardcore, but it was a little bit more casual than Copper.
Right. So originally, like the Sidewinder raid, which is what Addon now, we were marketed as a casual raid, and since Defcamp, Melderon, and I are content creators, it was more supposed to be hey, no world buffs, come as whatever spec you want, shaman tank, whatever, you name it. Like we try to have at least one of those things in our raid.
Who was the shaman tank?
There wasn't a shaman tank, but like I'm just being a little bit. But we did have like Boomkin. We did have 2 elemental shaman in the beginning. We had like some stuff, right? So Defcamp has been mythic raiding for a long time in retail. It stopped obviously like in Legion. I never did mythic, but I used to raid in like heroics. Nothing crazy, but like basically we like to play at a level that's not. How can I put this? We like to get stuff done as quickly as possible, and we do enjoy, the meta. We do enjoy theory crafting, and we really like. And it became really cool. And it became very. When you build a guild, when you build a raid, and you have people that have different perspectives than the other half. Let's say there's 20 people who want to play hard, and 20 people who just want to have fun. Ultimately, what's going to happen is you're going to have a schism, right? And that's essentially what happened in my raid. We didn't require world buffs at all. And honestly, for Defcamp and I, we just weren't having fun. And for many other people in the raid, not just Defcamp and I. So what originally really wanted us, one of the reasons we wanted to transfer was because of the horrible faction imbalance we have on Scarum. And 2 was because we were looking to honestly recruit more players. And we were very open with our raid about that, and we went from having these specs to now requiring world buffs, and trying to reduce our kill times as quickly as possible, because that's how we have fun, right? And that's how we want to play the game. But it was a very hard thing to do, because as a content creator, as a community figure, whatever you want to call me, you have certain people have perspectives on what they can and cannot do. And it was really challenging for me as a raid lead or as a guild GM to kind of really dance that fine line. And honestly, we just decided we wanted to be a better guild. And if you guys don't or do not know, Taladrill, who's a Druid theory crafter and works on the CWL with me and Al, he wrote a script called World Buffs Are an Exploit, and this was something we put out before Classic launched, and I am a staunch advocate was removing them before the game came out, and I still feel like they're horrible. But the thing is with them is that you can't deny their effect on raid performance, and it's the world buff effect. Once one person gets them, and I mentioned this in the video, once one person gets them, your whole raid gets them, right? It's just this undeniable force that kind of moves everyone in a direction to just want to play harder and have more ownership on their character.
It's kind of like an arms race, right? Because if the tank doesn't get world buffs and the DPS does, that DPS is probably going to pull aggro every time and just die, and then they're going to be upset about it. And if your guild doesn't kind of move towards, that meta, they're going to find a guild that does. And I think a lot of...
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and so I think a lot of guilds are really struggling with this issue right now of, where do they fall in the spectrum, right? How much do they want to push? Do they want to try to improve and, clear faster? Especially with, BWL being out for, 3 months now?
Yeah, February.
It's on farm, so what do you want to do when you have it on farm like that? You want to try to do it, you want to get in and get out.
Yeah, man.
And if you're going in there and doing 3-hour clears and people aren't buffing and stuff like that, like it's a huge time investment, and the less time you spend in there, the better. That's kind of how I feel, and I know a lot of people in the guild I play with, Onslaught, are the same way. That everybody calls us sweaty, but we do MC and BWL in an hour and 15 minutes. Hour and 20, hour 30 minutes combined, right?
That was the question I was going to have. Like, if we don't have world buffs, are we able to clear Nax, right? Like, are you able to keep doing other content beforehand? Are you able to do AQ and Nax on the same raid week? Like, you'll run out of time. Nax will become a humongous time sink without world buffs, I think, right?
Oh, I mean,
yeah. Just to like finish my thought, there is that, like, people people say that, but about us, but you know, we actually end up rating less than most other guilds, right? We spend less time rating, more maybe a little more time buffing, like an hour before, but it just makes it really enjoyable for everybody generally. But like as far as Nax is concerned, with buffs and stuff, like it's gonna be different because Nax is such a huge instance, right? 15 bosses,
Mhm.
4 different wings. Is it the kind of, you can't clear the whole thing with one set of buffs? Like,
No.
I'm not sure what the quickest speed run is. I think maybe just over an hour, hour and a half, or maybe
Wow.
2 hours. I'm not exactly sure from private servers what the record is. I believe it's somewhere around there, but um,
Yeah, but
you
for
know,
most skills, it won't be something you can do with one set of buffs.
yeah, it's probably going to be a 2 night thing for most guilds.
Yeah, and that's kind of that's the thing we were saying to ourselves is like Defcamp and I and Talix and the other people in leadership. We were like, we want to see all the content, right? I don't want to play classic if I'm not killing KT. I'm sorry, that's a deal breaker for me. If I can't see all the content, then what am I doing this for?
Yeah.
And I know people in the comments are probably gonna be like, "Whoa, I didn't realize Melderon was like that." No, I want to see everything, guys. Like I want to do as much as I possibly can. I'm even ranking in PvP now because I want to get as much of that as I can.
Mm.
I I want to experience this game as much as I can before TBC comes out because honestly, TBC is going to be even more engrossing for me than Classic is. But I don't know, like. I'm surprised at where I'm at, to be honest, because I never thought I'd be a kind of person that's checking people's buffs every week. But I want to be able to confidently know that we have the people and the motivation to get KT down. And that's where we're
Yeah.
at right now.
I remember when Classic was coming out, and everybody was like, "Oh, it's gonna be nostalgia, whatever." And I sat down and told my wife, "Hey, I'm gonna play this MMO pretty hardcore," because before that I wasn't playing too hardcore of a game. I was just would game once in a while, whenever it was possible. She's like, "Why would you play that game that you played so much in college? Like in college, I played more than I worked, and I had a full time job. Right? I had a full time job, 30 something hours of work." 16 credits and like wow, I rated 40 hours.
Yeah.
Why would I go back and do something I've already done? And my answer was I didn't get to kill KT. I didn't, Cthulhu was bugged out and I quit then. I
You
never
have
killed
unfinished business.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in my mind this is a perfect opportunity to relive some of the most fun I've had in a video game, right? It formed me as a gamer. It taught me a lot about MMOs. I learned all the mechanics of MMOs there. Really, it changed the genre. And then I played it so much, I still didn't get to do all of Nact. And so to me, KT is the goal. And I don't even think I'll play TBC because I never had that close relationship with TBC that I had with Vanilla.
For sure, dude. Like that's exactly right. And I didn't get a chance to do any of the raids in vanilla. I was a horrible noob who didn't even have the right talents. Leveled a warrior to 60 with the grace of God and my friend who gave me money to get a mount. Like I wasn't able to do any of this stuff, And I'm sorry. Like my classic WoW experience this time around is to experience everything as I possibly can. And I have to say, even parses like I know people are going to scoff at healing parses, lol, but honestly, healing parses are a direct correlation to how much HPS is going out, right? And my parses skyrocketed because of world buffs, because of the crit, honestly, because of the increased healing crit that comes out, especially on fights like Vale, and it's amazing to see these numbers. And I have to say, as someone who touted how much they would hurt the game, and I think they do. Seeing those numbers as an analytical person just makes a little bit of tickles your heart, And I know you guys already have that feeling because you're melee.
Got that dopamine hit. I know you're
Yeah,
a data guy, so I'm sure you definitely love seeing things going up into their.
I do, dude. I absolutely do, especially on the whole guild, and seeing everyone's DPS skyrocket and TPS skyrocket, and even we've been looking at, Bell showed us a way to look at our TPS. It's or a threat in each of our fights, and seeing all these graphs and all this data come in is like I love it, and I enjoy rating a lot more now when we get stuff done, and it's less frustrating to be honest because we're getting kills down before something stupid happens or someone screws up or
It's super satisfying when you can end like Neff and have all your world buffs still.
Yes.
I'll tell you. I don't know if you've gotten to that point
We
yet, but
we went into MC with having some most of our 2 hour buffs. Yeah.
that's amazing,
Yeah,
isn't
yeah,
it? It feels
yeah.
so good. I had this conversation with somebody earlier. They were saying how there's really nothing challenging about raiding a while. What's the purpose of trying hard? I'm like, you can accomplish something as a 40-man group. It's what changed raiding, right? Like the idea of getting 40 people to show up every week, fully buffed, and achieving something, right? Seeing yourself move up in the rankings on your server on Warcraft logs. We've transferred now through 3 servers. We were originally on Scarum, then Incendius, and then we went to Earth Fury. And just it's important to me personally to see the guild as a group improve in our time so that we can be among the upper echelon of Horde guilds on Earth Fury and establish ourselves as, a better class of raiders, right? To be able to recruit and keep yourself alive. Because I don't know about you guys, but I expect attrition in Nax. People are not going to want to buy stacks of mongoose for every week, right? Like 4 or 5 stacks of mongoose every week. You're going to see people leave and quit. And this is not, even now, we've seen waves of people through Endless and other private servers for TBC just leave Classic and lose that love for Classic. I don't know if you guys experienced any of that attrition, but we have.
Yeah, we've had turnover. Absolutely.
Attrition is really going to really speed up for guilds as well. Like, at least I feel like right now, in Onslaught, it's been fairly consistent. We've maybe lost a few extra people due to like the honor grind and things like that. Like some people have hit High Warlord, have quit because like that just
they've come back though.
Honestly, just wrecks you. They might, but like I know, especially going into AQ and Nax. So this for me will be my 3rd time going through like the whole classic cycle because originally I was fortunate enough to do the whole thing originally in vanilla. I did it again on a private server, and so this will be the 3rd time through. And in vanilla, same thing that happened on the private server. Going through AQ and Nax, the attrition is brutal. Guilds collapse. It's the difficulty definitely goes up. The time requirement goes up. Everything just increases to such a level that guilds break down and reform and merge and things like that. And the reason that actually both times that I was able to go through and finish it is that I was part of guild mergers in AQ on both times.
Wow.
And only due to merging cores of the first time was multiple guilds, and then the second time on the private server was 2 guilds, were we actually able to have the wherewithal to finish all the way through next.
Ayle, how many people were playing on these private servers at the time? Do you know what the populations were? Do they have numbers? Because
I don't remember exactly. It's definitely less than the high pop servers that we have now, or at least the one that I was playing. I think it might have been like 8K or something.
Had like 8K, yeah.
Yeah. So like Whitemane has 11.8K now. Even Scarum with having 0 alliance is at 5.4K. So I think mergers and finding a recruitment pool is still going to be there at Nax. I hope so. It would be kind of sad if we get to there. We get to Nax unlocking and nobody is playing anymore, and AQ just killed people. We all that content was made about how Vale was the guild killer of Classic.
Oh god, Vale's a joke. Firemore's harder than Vale.
Time out. You say that, but some people did quit, right? Like I've been pugs that can't get past Vale on my hunter. It happens. It's not it definitely is the first check of VW, I think.
It's a threat check for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think 4 Horsemen and AQ is gonna be a lot harder.
God.
Dude, so that was what I was gonna say. Vale was supposed to be the guild killer. I think 4 Horsemen.
4 Horsemen for sure is gonna be.
It's definitely. I think attrition is the real killer, and like I'll paint a picture for you how things usually go. I think Melderon, the way that you guys handled it with your guild was very good. However, if it had gone the other way, maybe one of your tanks is, looking for something more. They end up leaving. Maybe they have a Thunder Fury. That's irreplaceable, right? That is 8 months of investment, and guilds often don't recover from that. And if they're fairly popular, maybe 1 or 2 people go with them, then your guild's really dysfunctional. More people are going to get upset over time, and then your guild just totally crumbles, right?
Yeah.
So, like, I definitely think that you guys making this change right now is smart, even though it's something that you maybe never thought you'd do or didn't really want to do because you don't like the overarching, game dynamics
Yeah.
behind it. I think for long term your goals, it's going to be the right call.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's people out there that we had to let go or decided to move out on elsewhere that probably unfortunately were fans of ours in the beginning and probably maybe aren't now, and I can't change that. But again, what's more important for me is I'm a gamer first, content creator second, and this game is meaningful to me to a point where I'm willing to. If I have to sever ties with people, sometimes you have to do it because it's for the greater good. I have people that show up every week, work hard, dedicate themselves to bettering the raid. It's not fair to them to have people that are not doing that. And that's kind of the point we've gotten to. And it sucks because you don't want to be that type of person, and you don't want to tell people they can't raid but when someone shows up with no buffs, the wrong enchants, and the wrong rotation, and parsing in the grays, I'm sorry. It's something that I have to just say. I mean, we love you as a person, but we just can't keep you on because we can't progress through Naxx with people like that.
And it's worse when it's your tank, right? Like I was a DPS warrior, and I was just always the most try-hard person, right? Like I would bring all my buffs, all my consumes, and if your tank didn't have that, if they just missed one of those, they're 3 steps behind me, and I'm pulling thread off of them and wiping the whole raid, and it's my fault, right? Like, that makes it a lot less fun. And so you need to have strong players at very key points, because you can carry a great parsing hunter as long as they freaking trank shot.
But, correct. If they know how to pull and know how to trank and know how to, yes, correct. Yeah.
It's a lot harder when it's your main tank or like your healer core is not pressing the buttons and letting people die. So there's a balance to that, but eventually the raids will get not complicated enough, but have enough weird mechanics that if all 40 people don't know what they're doing and aren't watching the video to understand where they should be, it's going to end up badly for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those people out there, I've only done a few bosses in AQ and Naxx in vanilla on private servers, and I've done Naxx all the way through in Wrath, and people are going to laugh at that too. But the mechanics are very, very similar, and what I can tell you guys now is that if you aren't making preparations for Naxx now, as far as like watching videos or getting your best enchants or learning your class at a deeper level, you're going to have a lot of problems in Naxx. A lot. And the Four Horsemen alone is probably the most intricate fight in the game. And it requires not only knowledge of those mechanics, but having people that are dedicated to work in spots they aren't really used to working in, especially in the tanking position. So, I think everyone laughs at raid difficulty in Classic, but I think there's some credence to the fact that there is a sharp difficulty curve in this game. Do you guys agree?
I mean, we'll see. We hope so, right?
At least we knew there wasn't private servers. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. I mean, MC was really a joke. Everybody knew that. People were doing it in greens in the first 7 days or whatever.
Yeah.
BWO has been, I don't want to say hard, but like if you look at Scarum, they took a little while for it to have multiple people to finish it in progression and kill all 8 bosses. I mean, how long did it take you guys?
It took us a week, but it took us three tries in that week. Yeah.
So it wasn't a pushover per se. It definitely becomes scary because threat, you can't taunt as much and things like that.
Yeah.
And that's only going to get worse in NQ and Naxx. So
would it take you guys an hour?
For what?
No, Al was asking Al how long it took.
I think our first clear was 38 minutes.
38 minutes. Okay, I was off.
Yeah, they were like 3rd or 4th in the world.
Oh, that's right. I was watching.
And they had that scuffed razor gore where the ads kept spawning on them no matter what. They literally had to sacrifice one of their tanks to die and come back into the instance and get summoned later on.
Yeah, we had to zone out twice. It was awful.
That was horrible.
But hey, they fixed the bug right after that hotfix, so.
And regardless of what I say, there's going to be guilds that are going to be clearing this stuff, the first hour, a couple hours it comes out. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying for the vast majority of guilds, there's going to be a sharp difficulty increase, I think, in AQ and Naxx.
For sure. And so like if we compare it to the way in Classic was, like I think everything in AQ is like if you can clear BWL, you should be pretty fine up until at least Twin Imps, I think, was where guilds started to.
Yeah, I mean, who was a bit of a right. People we'll have to figure out if they have to like get nature resist.
Yeah.
Are you guys gearing out your tanks with nature resist, Melderon?
So, how do I put this? I'm wondering if we need more than the pots and the totem. I'm really honestly wondering that.
So I know Ayle's not doing it.
Yeah.
Also, that they're basically just who's gonna be a joke. And Visitus, I think you're gonna have one person with nature resist.
Yeah.
Is that right?
I have pieces in my bank already, just in case.
Yeah.
But,
Ayle, are you guys doing nature resist at all for any bosses in AQ?
I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe trade secrets.
No, trade secrets. Is that right? We can just go back and look at the VODs, right, from original private servers.
Yeah, that's probably true. No, I think we're just gonna do our usual thing and throw like 40 gorillas at
Zug,
it and
yeah.
hope it falls.
The warrior tornado is what I call it.
So everybody I've talked to says if you can kill like Vale in under 35 seconds, you're good. But we are a little bit, we're like at 36 to 42 seconds currently.
Mm-hmm.
So we're like on that border, I think, with our raid. We don't do BWL in 25 minutes like Onslaught does. We do it in 50 minutes, right? So we're not even like a 94 percentile or something like that in speed as a guild. So what we're doing is we're doing world bosses and getting all the juicy, good NR gear and putting it on the key players that we think might need it. And we're going to show up, I think, and probably do it without NR the first attempt with full world buffs and try to push through it. And if we wipe, we'll then put on the NR.
Yeah,
that way.
That's the best way to do it. I mean, we're at 53 seconds on Vale, so we're not there yet. But that was our fastest attempt, though.
Yeah, I've seen your charts though. Your DPS can definitely put out more damage. They just need to.
They need to stop worried about. But the thing is, the threat add-ons suck.
Wow.
They do.
Yeah, they do.
There's this classic aura highlight or whatever. Like, there's this weak aura I have now that when you select the creature, it tells you your number. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the best. Is it called? It's a weak aura. I can't remember what it's called. There's classic aura highlight as well. Yeah,
so there's modern target frames that does the same thing, but I found that to be a little bit more buggy. So what I have is threat info. It's a weak URL called threat info. It's pretty easy.
Yeah,
I can give you the link if you want to put it in the
Yeah, sure. Put it in this chat and I'll put it in the description.
Why do you think the threat ends are so bad? Like, do you think it has something to do with dare I say it, like batching or something? Like, does that why it feels so clunky? Because these add-ons are either based off ones from retail or created from private servers, and what's so different about Classic that makes it so the threat add-ons have been so unreliable?
The private servers were making up numbers. It was like, who's lying anyway, right? It was a game that all the threat mechanics and how they were calculated were random. Oh, knock away is 50% of your threat. And so that's what we did when we had the first iteration in Canon, or whoever was working on Tiny Thread. That's the number they put, right? But then as they see what the charts are showing on actual threat, then they're modifying that. I don't know. At this point, I think we're just guessing like what the actual percentage of threat loss is, based on like how long it takes them and how many threat abilities someone has to do to catch back up.
Right.
I'm talking about Broodlord specifically, like with the knockaway and how he drops threat. And I mean, taunt also is really weird as a mechanic on the Drakes, right? Because you inherit threat. How much do you inherit? Do you inherit the batching, like you were saying, Ayle? So if you are putting a Bloodthirst and you have the top threat and I'm taunting it off of you, do I get the threat before the Bloodthirst goes off?
That's a great question. It's a great question.
That's what taunt does. It matches your threat to the target.
Yeah, so taunt swap mechanics in bosses, that's essentially what you're doing, is that you're trading that number, right? And that's when I tanked, I started tanking in Wrath, and on like Gluth, where there's a taunt swap there. Like, that was my first understanding of what that was when I was playing back in the day. It's like, okay, I'm inheriting this person's number that they're building, basically for me when it's my turn to taunt.
I can't tell you how many times I've seen on a Drake where there's a wing buffet and someone taunts it off of me to absorb the wing buffet, and just because all that does is matches my threat with them.
Yeah.
If my TPS is still higher than theirs, it goes back on me before the wing buffet. As soon as the taunt, because usually what you do is you taunt with a window so that the taunt drops off of the mob when the wing buffet goes off, because you don't want to be wing buffeted and the Drake follow them and break up the positioning. You want to taunt to wing buffet him away and go right back to the taunt. To the original tank, right?
Right.
And so they would taunt, let the debuff drop off, and hopefully they're ahead of me when it drops off. But it hasn't done that. It goes right back to me, and I get wing buffet because I was doing my rotation. So it's almost like it's better after they taunt it off of you to press escape, hope that they get threat above the DPS, right? They keep it going, and then when you taunt it back off of them, you're ahead. It's a mess. It's super hard.
Yeah, no, it is. And I'm wondering how that's going to be in other fights, because there's going to be a lot more taunt swapping coming up in the other.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. Like we just moved to improve exposed armor instead of letting people sunder. And during Flame Gore, we were doing like our best time. We were on pace for like a 45-minute clear, and the main tank was he had threat, right? It was normal, and improve exposed armor went up as I taunted it away to get the wing buffet. I taunted away, and by the time it goes back, I get hit with the wing buffet. He had only been pressing Sunder, and it doesn't do anything because it's improved exposed armor. And so by the time I get knocked away, it doesn't go back to him. It goes to our DPS and Shadow Flames the whole raid.
Because Sunder can't exist on the target when there's exposed armor.
Yeah, he can't. He's pressing Sunder, and it's not applying anything.
Not even the threat, right?
Yeah, so he's probably putting threat for a Bloodthirst and a couple of heroic strikes. He didn't fill those GCDs with anything else that does threat. So like we fill it in with like Battle Shout. So Battle Shout gives you threat. Doesn't proc win free like Sunder does, but it can't be resisted or parried. It can be parried or dodged or whatever. So like there's a trade-off there, but that's what we do. We fill in our GCDs with is Battle Shout.
Interesting.
But yeah, that's just an example of how taunt mechanics screwed up our raid because he didn't build enough threat to beat the DPS in that little window of 3 seconds.
So what advice do you guys have for guilds right now that may be struggling? I guess keeping people or keeping their perspectives clear. I'll go last because I think I've been through this recently. But any advice you guys have for guilds out there?
Myself personally, just being through it is definitely monitor your attrition. You need to always be recruiting. If your plan is to go long term, and honestly as well, kind of keep in mind potential merger targets as well in the future, because if at some point you're unable to keep up with recruitment, that really becomes your only viable option, right? So without disbanding. And like I said, both the guilds that I were in that completed all of vanilla and retail private server Naxx, that's what we ended up having to do was merge. And I think that really becomes an issue, especially as the difficulty ramps up, because you won't be able to clear it with 35, 34 people. Like you'll probably need to have the full amount.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot. You're right. It's gonna be a lot harder to clear the current content that's coming. The new content that's coming out with your raid with crutches. It's not gonna be easy.
Yeah. So our guild, when we broke away from Invictus and transferred servers, we went to just the 40 of us. Everything became a lot simpler. Our DKP system changed a little bit. It became easier. But as we think about attrition and what it looks like moving forward and the challenges, right? I think what Ayle's saying is super important. I think most guilds should have 2 raid IDs. Merge with another guild, take on recruits to build a second ID with your alts, which is what I think we might do. I don't know. We have a lot of level 60 alts. We have like 60 or 70 of us that have level 60s in the guild, even though there's only 40 players. Get socials. Just build out your roster so that you can deal with the burnout. Even with the big queues that we had on Incendius, we had issues filling out our raid with 40 people during progression. We were trying to set records, and people just get stuck in queue. It was unfortunate, but getting your 40 people is the most important thing, and I think has been the biggest challenge. I think that's why you saw TBC go down to 25 people instead, because a lot of guilds had those issues.
Yeah, I cannot wait for 25-man raids. I'm sorry, but yeah. So for me as a GM, slash raid lead slash whatever you want, shaman guy, whatever. It's the best thing I can tell you is that don't pamper people who are underperforming, but really you should really give props or deserves for people who are performing. I think the attrition situation can be partially reduced or made better to some extent by really cherishing the people who want to be there and work hard. And something we've been trying to do in Eden is reward people for working harder and show them that they are wanted, even if they aren't even a leadership role, but give them, the kind of courtesy to be like, we really appreciate what you're doing and being here on time and reward those people. And like Ayle said, is build up your roster. If you have to go to a bench rotation, I think that's healthy. Unfortunately, in a Loot Council, we transferred from DKP to Loot Council. In Loot Council, a lot of people don't want to be benched because, they might get gear that night. But I think it's healthy to have a bench rotation for some of your classes, especially warriors and rogues, and maybe even shaman as well and priests. Because you're going to want to have, if someone has to drop because of real life situations, because they're not liking the raid anymore, or they're just not jiving, you have people that are ready to step up. So what do you guys think about bench rotations going into the new content phases?
I mean, that's tough to manage because I think everybody wants to raid, and it'll be difficult for people to wait on the sidelines unless it's more of your kind of established members who don't mind sitting. Maybe they have everything they need, but that also becomes kind of a management headache as well, right?
I think that's a good idea for certain class. So I think if you have 10 warriors, having one warrior every 2 months miss a raid would be okay.
That's
I wouldn't mind it. But if you have 2 hunters, you can't rotate hunters, right? Or 3 hunters. That becomes a headache right there for them, or druids. I know that you guys run 2 or 3 druids.
Yeah,
it sucks. I remember when I was originally in Sidewinder, we had that issue with our rotations when we had there'd be who was it? Was it Fomp? Chronically on the bench.
Oh wow, yeah, because
one of the druids had to be.
Yeah, but it seemed like it was always Vomp because of our tank situation at the time.
Yeah, because Graves had to be tanking. Yeah.
No, it was a joke. Never mind. It was the other tank that seemed to be always benching Vomp for some reason.
Was he the one that made those decisions?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know, but that's just a running joke.
But there's some classes that have become a lot harder just because there's less of them, right? And so maybe over recruiting at some of the very versatile classes that can tank and DPS and be off tank like warriors is a good one to have extras of. Having extra priests. If you run 6 priests, I don't know how many priests you guys run, right?
Right now we have 5 shaman, 5 priests.
Yeah, we only run 4, so we really can't rotate those. But shamans, we run 6 or 7, so having an 8th shaman is not too bad. It's 1 every 2 months.
We should probably pick up another shaman. The problem is our healers are there. One, we didn't have a lot of attrition in the healer side at all. Almost 0.
So, really? Because LaRocca and all
he's
them.
Still there?
Did they came back?
Oh, LaRocca never left.
Was it Lockdown?
That guy, he left. Yeah, that was
and Dano and Jaxler.
Yeah, so we definitely lost shaman. But what I mean is we've never lost the number of them. That we've never been short of them. Is what I mean.
Yeah, just one at a time, and you'd recruit another one.
Yeah, exactly. It's boom boom kind of thing.
It's almost like having a content creator, leading shaman content creator, breeds more shamans.
Exactly. I just poop them. My totems just produce.
Hey, I need a shaman. Go to the Discord, and somebody will transfer real quick.
Yeah. It did happen with, but anyway, not a shaman, but so I think, cherish who you have because, again, don't pamper people who don't do their job, but at the same time, the worst thing you can do is drive people away because of stupid reasons, right? That's the worst thing you can do, and we try to do that as best we can. We botched up one night, we had a raider who was fully world buffed, ready to go, and we left Kargath at 750. And he logged on at 7:50. He's like, hey, can I get an invite? And we were like, shit, we don't have a spot for you. And, I talked to him afterwards, and I was just like, dude, I'm sorry. Just let us know ahead of time if you're saving buffs. And usually people log on quickly and get an invite. He couldn't because he was at work or whatever. So anyway, apologize for that shit. It's not your fault. And It's not your
you
fault.
guys not have a set roster? You guys are usually really good at that.
Well, we were for a long time as we were rebuilding. We were short for so long.
It wasn't a problem.
And then boom, we just recruited like 5 warriors, and then boom, then this happened, right? So
that happened to us the first week we transferred to Earth Fury because we had so much of a attrition because of the queue, right? There was just a huge line of people, and we never had problems getting people into the raid spot. Well, when we transferred over to Earth Fury the first week, our raid filled up. A warrior showed up randomly late. Like, our group is full, and they're all inside the orb already. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened, and he was cool with it. But like, that's a situation where I think as a raid leader, as a GM, or a class lead, whatever you want to call it, you just just make sure that person is wanted, and we of course care for that person because this guy always shows up every week, never misses a raid, and those are the people that you want to maybe even groom for leadership as well. So
yeah, it's not an easy solution to that. I was going to ask you, how's the transition from DKP to Loot Council been in general? Because I pushed for that when we transferred over and we separated from Invictus, just because I think Loot Council is the fairest way to distribute loot.
I agree.
Effort to reward, right? A DKP obviously is all about prios and all that stuff. Do you guys still have prios? How does the Loot Council work for you guys? And has anybody accused you of unfair Loot Councils yet?
So what we do is we ask everyone to give us their top 5. And we try to take that into consideration when we do Loot Council.
That must be hard for warriors. You only have like 5 things.
Yeah, so for those classes, it's like, well, everyone has the same list. But so we do that just as a way to kind of separate. It has helped more than you think. But as far as I know, no one has came to me or Talix or Defcamp and said you did this unfairly, which is good. What we try to do is we take into consideration attendance, performance, attitude, and whether they got a piece of loot recently. Those are the 4 things we look into, right? So let's, for example, the first rejuvenating gem went to Defcamp because he is the highest HPS priest we have, right? So there's an example of something we did that was based on performance. Of course, he's there every week because there's co-GM, right? So we don't have an issue with attendance for him. And so, and then the next one went to, I think, Laraka. So we try to alternate classes as well. We try to go pre-shaman, with healing pieces. And we just go down the line. I mean, if Defcamp and I were the first ones to get every piece of loot, then yeah, I think we have a problem, right? But we don't do that.
I was gonna ask that. The one thing I noticed in private servers with loot councils and stuff, where people who were officers or in that loot council usually ended up getting the least amount of loot.
I think it's probably balanced for us. We have a skew. I believe the people who we do have in loot council are also pretty high performers as well, so there might be a skew there a little bit. But not on all. Yeah.
Ayle, you've been stuck in loot list world forever, right? Even in private servers, they ran.
I've been loving it. Yeah, in the private server I played on, we had a loot list system as well, and honestly,
what are the strengths of that system?
It's pretty much drama free. It requires a unique kind of group of people to have because everybody kind of has to be on a similar level, right? So when you're in a guild like Onslaught or another guild where most of the players you have, or all the players you have, are high performing, they show up every raid, you can't really judge people on that because everybody's all on the same level, right? So how do you arbitrarily assign loot to people if everybody's kind of pulling their weight and doing the same thing, right? So that's where the loot list really shines. Everybody's here all aligned in the same goals. Our organization's really good. So it's really kind of just waiting your turn for your stuff to drop, and then meanwhile, you have fun blasting.
Yeah.
So it's honestly the lowest stress. Easy in a sense that it's so well organized. The rating, it's honestly, it feels like a rating paradise, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah.
So you never have people try to game the system, swapping from one raid ID to the other to get higher up on the list of priority? Be like, oh, I'm second in my raid, but if I go to the other raid, I'll get DFT first.
Yeah, no, well, based on the kind of the unique structure of our guild, anybody can swap between any raid whenever they want, right? So we have 3 different groups, but they're they're not static. Anybody can move to any of the days, and
Really?
that's really great because say, hey, I want to go out to a barbecue on Sunday. You're like, okay, I want to swap to the Monday raid, and then you do that, right? And it's actually great to have 3 potential days any week you can raid, and to be able
Be
to
done in 30 minutes.
and yeah, and if you're up for a piece and you want, you look at it and you're up for it on Monday, you can try to swap to that. But it's like everybody's kind of in for the long haul, so it's not really an issue. Like everybody's gonna get
everything.
Everybody's gonna get their gear, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't seen Spinal Reaper drop in 8 months, and I'm way beyond first for it, and now it doesn't even matter. But so be it.
That enhanced Shami took it, then quit.
Really?
Yeah, enhanced Shami and Ocelot took the first Spinal Reaper.
Oh my god! Why'd you give it to a shaman?
Well, it's not a thing that it's given like that.
It was on his list.
I see.
They had it number 1 on their list, and they're either tied with someone and won the role, or they got it based on the priority in which they ordered it, right? So it's not anything like that. That like to me, you guys are like, oh my god, like why did you do that? But it's like it's not like that. It's just the way the system works.
Yeah,
right?
I get it. Yeah.
So it's no problem, and we run one of every spec, like even a boomkin and things like that. So, no big deal.
Shout out to Shifi, #1 boomkin in the world, right? In Tamaka.
Yeah.
In Tamaka, yeah, little shaman, yeah.
I have a question, Al. Did you go for Gressel THC combo on your loot list?
I did not.
You pussied out. Oh.
I mean, look. It's basically worthless unless you get the weapon skill offhand, and every tank and rogue's gonna want that as well. So, why make it suffer?
Like QWA and a Sundered Hatchet? Is that what you did?
Well, the lists haven't been made public yet, so I'm not gonna go too far into it. But I mean, that's the obvious choice, right?
Yeah.
But I do have some spicy dagger options lurking too.
How high did you rank on your warrior?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What? Like how high did I rank the daggers?
Yeah. Did you get to no? How high did you rank PvP? Did you get the warrior rank 14?
Oh no, I didn't. I just
because that makes this a lot more broken, right? Because you can just prioritize stuff because you have the weapons of all the way through 8Q. You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and the armor is really good as well. Yeah, no, I didn't go that high. It's unfortunately I was ranking really early on when it was much more difficult than it was now. And
before COVID, when we're all home chilling, work from home, work quotes.
Yeah, and I actually burned myself out on it because I was pushing so hard, and I was hitting like rank 8, 9 right around when they released the changes to make Warsong Gulch more viable. And so I got stuck basically. I wasn't able to get a group, so I had to continue to pug, and I wasn't going to do AV for 16, 18 hours a day. I'm like, yep, I'm not gonna be able to get rank 12, 13, 14. Like I just don't have the time. I gotta keep working. So
yeah,
I was working. I was like, hey, rank 10. I think it was my original goal. Because in original vanilla, my mage, I made rank 11 working full time and like school full time. And I was like, it can't be that bad. But I forgot that I wasn't in a relationship through all of college, so that helped a lot.
Correct. Yeah. It's a big difference.
Yeah, I don't know how I could.
And a child.
Yeah, and a child. So life is a little different now.
Yeah. Well, so I think we should wrap up. Thanks, guys, for being here. So I think, closing thoughts, basically, we went over some changes that have been happening, and we went over what we've been feeling recently in our guilds and how the game has been changing. And I don't know, my perceptions of Classic were totally different than they were from day one. It's not good or bad. It's just different. And I'm really enjoying it, though. I'm really enjoying it more now than I was, MC, I have to say, even though there's been some headaches. You guys agree with that?
Yeah, I think it's been a lot of fun now that we got rid of the queues. And, I mean, it just, I get to log on and try to set a new record every week, which is great for me.
Yeah.
We still have room for improvement. I don't know how we do with Onslaught. I think right now, you guys are chasing us the #1 speedrun in the world, and it's something to keep you guys going, right? So I'm assuming the content itself is trivial at this point for you guys who are a lot more hardcore.
Yeah, we're basically just competing with everybody else who wants to speed run things. So like that's what we're, that's what pushes us.
Well, I wish you guys luck on getting that 22 minutes that Apes put up today.
Yeah, pretty crazy. It's I don't know if Horde's ever going to be able to touch what Alliance can do, just due to that they can get the Horde buff, the Warchief's Blessing. But yeah, I don't know, man.
I don't know. Salvation's pretty busted as a tank. I look at the logs of like Alliance warriors that put out very little DPS and how much DPS their DPS puts out. I'm like, why can't that makes no sense to me? Why aren't they pulling threat? And it's just Salvation. So good. Anyways.
Tangent.
Yeah, that's all right. Well, that's good. So we're gonna make this a semi-regular thing. Bel, of course, you're invited to any of the future ones if you would want to. And I think Ayle, between you and Ayle, we have a pretty good set of knowledge here, and I think we'll try to do this at least maybe twice a month, something like that. So yeah,
thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.
We got to think of a title now, but anyway, so the viewers will see the title. Anyway, guys, thanks for being here. Thanks Ayle and Bel for being here. Thanks to the audience for being here, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Keep on keybinding and grinding.